So, folks, it's time for us to take a look at Mark Carney's full speech at the World Economic Forum, because I feel like we played a small clip of it on stream a couple days ago, but I think we need to play the entire thing and kind of set up what the real depth of this speech was. And I want to juxtapose it with Donald Trump's speech, but I looked at that, and Mark Carney's speech is a concise 30 minutes long. Donald Trump's speech is like an hour and 45 minutes long, an hour and a half, somewhere in there. And it's just utter fucking nonsense. I tried like watching some of it, and it's just garbage. It's just nonsense garbage. It's just Donald Trump is a bastard man, writ large. And we'll take a look at like one of the key parts of that I found interesting, just a very short snippet of it. But I wanted to first show Mark Carney's speech and talk about kind of what Donald Trump's positioning on the global stage really means. Okay, so let's jump into it.
Thank you very much, Larry. I'm going to start in French, and then I'll switch back to English. Merci, Larry.
Thank you, Larry. It is both a pleasure and a duty to be with you tonight in this pivotal moment that Canada and the world are going through. Today I will talk about a rupture in the world order, the end of a pleasant fiction and the beginning of a harsh reality.
Wait, is he going to do this entire speech in French first?
Presented as inevitable. As
going through. Today I will talk about a rupture in the world order, the end of a pleasant fiction and the beginning of a harsh reality, where geopolitics, where the large main power geopolitics is submitted to no limits, no constraints. On the other hand, I would like to tell you that the other countries, especially intermediate powers like Canada, are not powerless. They have the capacity to build a new order that encompasses our values, such as respect for human rights, sustainable development, solidarity, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of the various states. The power of the less power starts with honesty.
It seems that every day we're reminded that we live in an era of great power rivalry, that the rules-based order is fading, that the strong can do what they can and the weak must suffer what they must. And this aphorism of Thucydides is presented as inevitable, as the natural logic of international relations reasserting itself. And faced with this logic, there is a strong tendency for countries to go along to get along, to accommodate, to avoid trouble, to hope that compliance will buy safety. Well, it won't. So what are our options? In 1978, the Czech dissident Václav Havel, later president, wrote an essay called The Power of the Powerless. And in it, he asked a simple question: how did the communist system sustain itself? And his answer began with a greengrocer. Every morning, this shopkeeper places a sign in his window: "Workers of the world unite." He doesn't believe it. No one does. But he places the sign anyway to avoid trouble, to signal compliance, to get along. And because every shopkeeper on every street does the same, the system persists. Not through violence alone, but through the participation of ordinary people in rituals they privately know to be false. Havel called this living within a lie. The system's power comes not from its truth, but from everyone's willingness to perform as if it were true. And its fragility comes from the same source. When even one person stops performing, when the greengrocer removes his sign, the illusion begins to crack. Friends, it is time for companies and countries to take their signs down. For decades, countries like Canada prospered under what we called the rules-based international order. We joined its institutions, we praised its principles, we benefited from its predictability. And because of that, we could pursue values-based foreign policies under its protection. We knew the story of the international rules-based order was partially false, that the strongest would exempt themselves when convenient, that trade rules were enforced asymmetrically. And we knew that international law applied with varying rigor depending on the identity of the accused or the victim. This fiction was useful, and American hegemony in particular helped provide public goods, open sea lanes, a stable financial system, collective security, and support for frameworks for resolving disputes. So we placed the sign in the window. We participated in the rituals, and we largely avoided calling out the gaps between rhetoric and reality. This bargain no longer works.
And at this point, he gives an example of under like the Soviet system of compliance under authoritarianism, right? And I would just read one of the opening quotes from Antonio Gramsci. "The old world is dying, the new world struggles to be born. Now is the time of monsters." And I feel this, even more concisely than his example, really sums up where things are geopolitically. Mark Carney is a neolib, right? Mark Carney is very much a stand for capitalism, very much a stand for, international trade and whatnot. But the issue here that he is pointing out is that the old world is dying. The order propped up by American imperialism and self-interested pushing for trade deals has been broken by Donald Trump. And I just have to say, we're now in a very scary time because now is the time of monsters. You look around the entire Trump administration, everyone in leadership is a monster. You've got people who are covering for agents who will shoot mothers in the face. You've got heads of our intelligence services who are throwing tantrums about jet skis and openly, proudly declaring that they don't read. You've got the President of the United States warmongering against nations that have only been good allies to us. You've got a concentrated effort to cover up for incredibly wealthy men and women who have sexually abused children. You have warmongering against the world entire coming from the United States. That is going to be it's going to be an incredibly rough transition. And I don't think people in the United States really get it yet. A lot of folks here in the US do not understand the damage that the Trump administration has done abroad, largely due to the fact that most Americans are very much preoccupied with the conditions here in America rather than what is going on internationally. We are entering a new era, and the question now becomes, do the monsters overtake us all, or do we defeat the monsters? Are we overtaken by the oligarchs and the fascists, or do we defeat them, and in defeating them, decide our new future? The question here is, which way do we go? How do we handle fascism and oligarchy. It is scary for sure for Canadians' eyes. I believe it. And we need to fight these guys. Like, my fellow Americans. We need to fight our monsters. We need to stop them here so that they don't become other people's problems in an even bigger way in the future. We need to slay our own monsters.
Let me be direct. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition. Over the past 2 decades, a series of crises in finance, health, energy, and geopolitics have laid bare the risks of extreme global integration. But more recently, great powers have begun using economic integration as a weapon.
Also, A Rider M, I am gonna ban you just because you are being very irritating. Not because of you being a conservative. It's just you're being very irritating.
Tariffs as leverage, financial infrastructure as coercion, supply chains as vulnerabilities to be exploited. You cannot live within the lie of mutual benefit through integration when integration becomes the source of your subordination.
I'm sorry, Salmon Moose. I should have let you take that one. My bad.
The multilateral institutions on which the middle powers have relied, the WTO, the UN, the COP, the architecture, the very architecture of collective problem solving are under threat. And as a result, many countries are drawing the same conclusions, that they must develop greater strategic autonomy in energy, food, critical minerals, in finance and supply chains. And this impulse is understandable.
By the way, the unspoken thing here is also when it comes to military. You know? If you can no longer rely on the United States for any of these other aspects, you can also no longer rely on the United States for military aid. Part of the breaking of this international order is going to be nuclear proliferation, where every nation, in order to try and secure itself from US aggression, will be trying to get their hands on nuclear weapons. And there will be no international order to prevent them from doing so.
A country that can't feed itself, fuel itself, or defend itself has few options. When the rules no longer protect you, you must protect yourself. But let's be clear-eyed about where this leads. A world of fortresses will be poorer, more fragile, and less sustainable. And there's another truth. If great powers abandon even the pretense of rules and values for the unhindered pursuit of their power and interests, the gains from transactionalism will become harder to replicate. Hegemons cannot continually monetize their relationships. Allies will diversify to hedge against uncertainty. They'll buy insurance, increase options in order to rebuild sovereignty. Sovereignty that was once grounded in rules but will increasingly be anchored in the ability.
Will NATO save us from our own tyrant wannabe? Look, if we get to the point where NATO needs to, like, fight the United States, like, they're not fighting us to save us from Trump. They're fighting because it's an existential threat. To the extent that NATO exists anymore, it is only between all NATO nations and not the United States.
To withstand pressure. This room knows this is classic risk management. Risk management comes at a price. But that cost of strategic autonomy, of sovereignty, can also be shared.
Like, when I talk to you guys about the importance of organizing locally, part of the reason for that is because we really need to win. We really need to win the midterms. We need to win the midterms. We need to win, like, Congress back, and we need to curtail the madness of the king. That is really geopolitically important at this point. And the idea that, oh, well, NATO will maybe come and save us, like, no, we can't wait for that. We cannot wait for that. If you are anxious, put your energy into organizing locally with your local Dems and your local DSA. We have folks in our community who are set up to help you do that. We got to do that thing. We got to do that thing. It is hard, but we got to do it. you need help, join the Discord. Reach out to Dragonfly for help organizing your local Dems. Reach out to Gamergy for help organizing your local DSA. We need to do that shit.
Collective investments in resilience are cheaper than everyone building their own fortresses. Shared standards reduce fragmentations. Complementarities are positive sum. And the question for middle powers like Canada is not whether to adapt to the new reality. We must. The question is whether we adapt by simply building higher walls or whether we can do something more ambitious. Now, Canada was amongst the first to hear the wake-up call, leading us to fundamentally shift our strategic posture. Canadians know that.
You know what, Forlorn 79, your appeal to a 2-week timeout moved my heart. I have been merciful.
That our old comfortable assumptions that our geography and alliance memberships automatically conferred prosperity and security, that assumption is no longer valid. And our new approach rests on what Alexander Stubb, the President of Finland, has termed value-based realism. Or to put another way, we aim to be both principled and pragmatic. Principled in our commitment to fundamental values, sovereignty, territorial integrity, the prohibition of the use of force except when consistent with the UN Charter, and respect for human rights. And pragmatic in recognizing that progress is often incremental, that interests diverge, that not every partner will share all of our values. So we're engaging broadly, strategically with open eyes. We actively take on the world as it is, not wait around for a world we wish to be. We are calibrating our relationships so their depth reflects our values. And we're prioritizing broad engagement to maximize our influence, given the fluidity of the world at the moment, the risks that this poses, and the stakes for what comes next. And we are no longer just relying on the strength of our values, but also the value of our strength. We are building.
Politicians love it when you can do something like that. We're no longer relying on the strength of our values, but the value of our strength. Politicians are suckers for that. They love it.
That strength at home. Since my government took office, we have cut taxes on incomes, on capital gains and business investment. We have removed all federal barriers to interprovincial trade. We are fast-tracking $1 trillion of investments in energy, AI, critical minerals, new trade corridors, and beyond. We're doubling our defense spending by the end of this decade, and we're doing so in ways that build our domestic industries. And we are rapidly diversifying abroad. We've agreed a comprehensive strategic partnership with the EU, including joining SAFE, the European Defence Procurement Arrangements. We have signed 12 other trade and security deals on 4 continents in 6 months. The past few days, we've concluded new strategic partnerships with China and Qatar. We're negotiating free trade pacts with India, ASEAN, Thailand, Philippines, and Mercosur.
Yeah, I mean, again, I did open this up by saying Mark Carney is like a neolib. Like he's like a Bill Clinton type, you know, like he's not exactly a far leftist, you know. But what he's talking about here are the geopolitical consequences of the insane actions, the deranged actions of the Trump administration. I mean, he does an excellent job conveying that, you know? So I think where we're kind of at here is that, like, most of us here do not agree with Mark Carney politically. But he's doing an excellent job articulating the fracture, as he said at the beginning. The fracture within the world order. We're all going to be in for a bumpy ride.
We're doing something else. To help solve global problems, we're pursuing variable geometry. In other words, different coalitions for different issues based on common values and interests. So on Ukraine, we're a core member of the Coalition of the Willing and one of the largest per capita contributors to its defense and security. On Arctic sovereignty, we stand firmly with Greenland and Denmark and fully support their unique right to determine Greenland's future. Our commitment to NATO's Article 5 is unwavering. So we're working with our NATO allies, including the Nordic-Baltic Gate, to further secure the alliance's northern and western flanks, including through Canada's unprecedented investments in over-the-horizon radar, in submarines, in aircraft, and boots on the ground, boots on the ice. Canada strongly opposes tariffs over Greenland and calls for focused talks to achieve our shared objectives of security and prosperity in the Arctic. On plurilateral trade, we're championing efforts to build a bridge between the Trans-Pacific Partnership and the European Union, which would create a new trading bloc of 1.5 billion people. On critical minerals, we're forming buyers' clubs anchored in the G7 so that the world can diversify away from concentrated supply. And on AI, we're cooperating with like-minded democracies to ensure that we won't ultimately be forced to choose between hegemons and hyperscalers. This is not naive multilateralism, nor is it relying on their institutions. It's building coalitions that work, issues by issue, with partners who share enough common ground to act together. In some cases, this will be the vast majority of nations. What it's doing is creating a dense web of connections across trade, investment, culture, on which we can draw for future challenges and opportunities.
And I do want to stress, it would not be impossible for the United States to potentially re-enter and reintegrate into the world order that, or the balance of power, perhaps, that Mark Carney is describing here. But the United States will not be operating in the same capacity or in the same position of power that it has been up until this point. And that might be a severe blow to the pride of many conservatives here in the United States. But you know what? Fuck them. They got us into this mess already. It's our job to get us out and to treat our allies as they deserve to be treated, as allies.
Argue the middle powers must act together because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. But I'd also say that great powers can afford for now to go it alone. They have the market size, the military capacity, and the leverage to dictate terms. Middle powers do not. But when we only negotiate bilaterally with a hegemon, we negotiate from weakness. We accept what's offered. We compete with each other to be the most accommodating. This is not sovereignty. It's the performance of sovereignty while accepting subordination. In a world of great power rivalry, the countries in between have a choice: compete with each other for favor, or to combine to create a third path with impact. We shouldn't allow the rise of hard power to blind us to the fact that the power of legitimacy, integrity, and rules will remain strong if we choose to wield them together. Which brings me back to Havel. What does it mean for middle powers to live the truth? Well, first, it means naming reality. Stop invoking rules-based international order as though it still functions as advertised. Call it what it is: a system of intensifying great power rivalry where the most powerful pursue their interests using economic integration as coercion.
And I mean, essentially what he's laying out here is, what has been laid bare is the nature of things where might makes right. And if we want to continue, those of us who are not individually as nations mighty, we need to band together in complex webs and agreements in order to collectively make ourselves stronger. Like, his argument here is essentially, if we are to enter into an honest age of great power rivalry, then we must make ourselves great powers by working together.
It means acting consistently, applying the same standards to allies and rivals. When middle powers criticize economic intimidation from one direction but stay silent when it comes from another, we are keeping the sign in the window. It means building what we claim to believe in. Rather than waiting for the old order to be restored, it means creating institutions and agreements that function as described. And it means reducing the leverage that enables coercion. That's building a strong domestic economy. It should be every government's immediate priority. And diversification internationally is not just economic prudence, it's a material foundation for honest foreign policy, because countries earn the right to principled stands by reducing their vulnerability to retaliation. So Canada. Canada has what the world wants. We are an energy superpower. We hold vast reserves of critical minerals. We have the most educated population in the world. Our pension funds are amongst the world's largest and most sophisticated investors. In other words, we have capital, talent. We also have a government with immense fiscal capacity to act decisively. And we have the values to which many others aspire. Canada is a pluralistic society that works. Our public square is loud, diverse, and free. Canadians remain committed to sustainability. We are a stable and reliable partner in a world that is anything but. A partner that builds and values relationships for the long term. And we have something else. We have a recognition of what's happening and a determination to act accordingly. We understand that this rupture calls for more than adaptation. It calls for honesty about the world as it is. We are taking the sign out of the window. We know the old order is not coming back. We shouldn't mourn it. Nostalgia is not a strategy. But we believe that from the fracture, we can build something bigger, better, stronger, more just. This is the task of the middle powers. The countries that have the most to lose from a world of fortresses and a most to gain from genuine cooperation. The powerful have their power. But we have something too. The capacity to stop pretending, to name reality, to build our strength at home, and to act together. That is Canada's path. We choose it openly and confidently, and it is a path wide open to any country willing to take it with us. Thank you very much.
So essentially what you all just witnessed there was the formal breaking of the world. That speech kind of really solidified everything we already knew. You know, what I talked about almost a year ago when J.D. Vance gave his speech to the military leadership of Europe and basically called them children and demeaned them and belittled them. And demanded, like a petulant child, that they all pay more. We talked then on this stream about how this was a really fucking big deal. But this is where all of, like, the world leaders came out and said it to the world, in front of the world, to all of us. This is broken. This is broken. It is not getting fixed. We are not going to continue to try and fix it. It is broken, and we must find a better way forward. This is like one of the most closest, intimatest allies the United States has, breaking ties with us. This is a declaration, in a sense, of geopolitical conflict. You know, like a formal accepting of the challenge that Trump has issued to the world. To say, okay, we are going to meet that challenge and we are going to band together, and good luck to you. Best of luck. Let's see how throwing that big military of yours around the world, let's see how well that works for you. When the rest of us, smaller powers work together to oppose you and in our own best interests. No longer are we going to be serving American imperialism. No longer are we going to be serving American geopolitical interest. We are going to be serving our collective interest with equal weight given to each of us. And I think that this is a speech that is going to be in history books. Yeah, Ping Squirrel. I think so. I know Mark Carney himself is not like the most charismatic speaker. He's not like the most exciting guy. You know, he comes from bank world, you know? And in bank world, you don't want to be exciting. You don't want to be flashy. You want to be solid and dependable. And that, for me, is one of the things that really struck me about this speech, which is that this is a solid, slow-moving, dependable kind of guy. The kind of guy who has built his entire career off of being a respectable, dependable guy. In this circumstance, he is operating as that respectable, dependable leader. And that is where this break is coming from. It's not coming from an off-the-cuff decision. It is not coming from, a place of, closely held emotion and rancor. It's coming from, well, this just makes sense. It's done. It's broken. And we're moving on. And it's a really, really bad situation for the United States. The isolationism that a lot of folks here seem to want is not something that they're actually going to enjoy. And when we do get it, and we have isolated ourselves from every corner of the earth, the idea that this fascist persecution of trans people or Hispanic people or people of color in general is going to stop or scale down. No, it's going to scale up, because that's what fascists do. They scale it up and they scale it up and they scale it up until the entire system implodes. They're going to do as much damage as they can before they go. And so what is super important here is to get organized. The more we get organized, the more we work together, the more we stand for each other and next to each other, the safer we'll be and the more effective we will be fighting back against this fascist, leadership. Because we need to get them out somehow, guys. We need to build up a power that leaves no doubt that they must leave. There cannot be a shadow of a doubt by the time elections roll around. Otherwise, they're just going to try and find another cockamamie way of holding on to power. They tried to do it last time. They're going to do it again. And we need to get organized to prevent that. So, folks, join your local Dems, join your local DSA. And if you're just like, oh, I can't be bothered to join either of those, figure out a group you can organize with. Like, I genuinely, at the end of the day, I don't care where or who you're getting organized with, as long as they are committed to effective action. As long as they are going to show up and act electorally and also out in the community. If you need help joining your local DSA, join the Discord, reach out to Gamergy. If you need help joining your local Dems and radicalizing them, join the Discord, reach out to Dragonfly. We have people in this community that are dedicated to helping you make this a reality. Dedicated to helping you fight. We got other orgs in the command. If you use !organize, the bot will give you links to No Kings, links to Indivisible, like join Tesla Takedown. Like, there are so many different groups out there that you can get involved with, but get involved with some of them and show the fuck up. You gotta show the fuck up. Because we know what the alternative is, don't we? Here's Donald Trump during his speech. It's a 17-second long clip. Because remember, at the beginning of this, I wanted to juxtapose these two. Here's Donald Trump talking about Greenland.
I don't know that they'd be there for us. They're not there for us on Iceland, that I can tell you. I mean, our stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland. So Iceland's already cost us a lot of money. But that dip is peanuts compared to what it's gone up. And we don't know that they'd be there for us.
Cool. He's now talking about Iceland, and while in the middle of threatening Greenland, he also threatened Iceland. And when The Intercept reached out to the Trump White House to ask, did you mean to say Iceland or did you mean to say Greenland, and you got confused? Well, we have the answer. While threatening Greenland, Trump also threatens Iceland. Until the last few days when I told them about Iceland, they loved me, Trump said, speaking of European leaders. In a speech about annexing Greenland, Donald Trump on Wednesday also appeared to announce plans for the United States to annex Iceland. In a rambling and sometimes incoherent address at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, Trump announced U.S. designs on the Nordic island nation. Until the last few days, when I told them about Iceland, they loved me, Trump said of European leaders. What I am asking for is a piece of ice, cold and poorly located, that can play a vital role in world peace and world protection. He added that NATO is not there for us on Iceland. Our stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland. Iceland's already cost us a lot of money. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt, Taylor Rogers, and Anna Kelly all failed to respond to repeated requests by email for clarification about whether the commander-in-chief meant to threaten Iceland or misspoke when he meant to say Greenland, a country that he has vowed to take by any means necessary. When a News Nation reporter tweeted that Trump appeared to mix up Greenland and Iceland, Leavitt claimed the journalist had the facts wrong. His written remarks referred to Greenland as a piece of ice because that's what it is, Leavitt tweeted. In his remarks, Trump stated that all the United States is asking for is a place called Greenland, suggesting his references to Iceland were mistakes. But that's the thing, isn't it? We have no idea. We have no idea if in his deranged pea brain, he thought, hey, let's invade Iceland too. Or if he genuinely got Iceland and Greenland confused. I can't, guys. I can't. It's insane. We are being run by an insane person. Like, his brain is gone. It's just fucking gone. And like, dude, in the aftermath of the World Economic Forum, with many world leaders clowning on Donald Trump because of what an inarticulate dipshit he was, he went on just like a massive social media posting binge to shit talk all of them. Like, he's just, in the span of like 2 hours, he tweeted like once a minute. Like, it's just crazy. Just lashing out at his enemies. I have to say, guys, we have to deal with this shit. We have to step up and deal with it. It cannot be that, like, oh, we're gonna wait around until the world deals with him. Like, that's not gonna happen. And if that does happen, then we're in a lot deeper shit than just like, oh, they're gonna, what, they're gonna like bomb the White House and then that's gonna be the end of it? That's not how that works. But a lot of people are just fixated on this idea that someone somewhere is gonna do the thing. Someone out there is going to be the one to lead the revolution or lead the resistance or lead, insert activity. Like, but that's not how this works. And that's not what is going to happen. Instead, it is going to take a coalition made up of millions of working everyday people just like you, just like me, who work together and do their bit and try and move the needle until we get this clown out. It is going to take all of us working together. And I know that is not a very satisfying thing to say because people want to feel like folks got a plan. People want to feel like there's leadership that is going to get this done. And like, we don't have that. And I don't know that we're going to have a clear leadership in the months and years ahead. And we have to be our own leaders. We have to rise up as a nation full of leaders in a situation where, any one of us could be disappeared by ICE, could be disappeared by Homeland Security, but we must make a movement that is not dependent on any one of us. I was watching for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I know it's not MLK Day now, but I was watching an interview with Martin Luther King Jr. on the Merv Griffin show. I know, random, right? But what struck me in that interview was just, he's just a guy, you know? I think a lot of folks spend a lot of time watching the speeches and watching, you know, the moments, reading Letter from a Birmingham Jail, you know, reading the writings, reading the books. But I think sometimes people miss that MLK was, at the end of the day, just a guy. You know, he talked about, like, wow, always something going on in New York, huh? Like, just little comments, human comments. And I just want to say, like, we need that. We need more people. Each and every one of you can be a leader. And we need each and every one of you to step up however you can. So, folks, again, get organized. Reach out to Dragonfly to radicalize your local Dems. Reach out to GamerG to help make your local DSA more effective. Do the things, folks. And let's start being the leaders we want to see in the world, huh? With that being said, hit that like button. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And comments longer than 8 words generally do better. I don't know why. The algorithm. Subscribe. Consider monetarily supporting stream if you haven't yet. And also, folks, consider checking out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes. Also tested on cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. Non-tucking lingerie. Check it out, folks. New styles, new colors coming soon. I think it's lovely. I'm actually wearing it right now. So, super comfy, and check it out. Link down in the doobly-doo, and let's keep on going.
Riverboat deck is coming to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the scenes. Politics, gaming, and plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Juxtaposing